It is currently about 6 p.m. Guam Standard Time on the 15th of May, 2015. What you are looking at here is the latest radar loop from the Guam National Weather Service, the radar out of Andersen Air Force Base here in the northern portions of the island. And at this time, they are taking the brunt of Typhoon Dolphin, the eye wall, both clipping the island of Rota and northern portion of Guam. Now, the storm system is making landfall, but if your definition is the dead center circulation has to move over land for it to technically make landfall, it might not actually come on shore because we have the southern eye wall hitting northern portions of Guam, the northern eye wall hitting Rota. Good friend James Reynolds and also Jim Eds out there in Rota documenting the storm as it pushes overhead. We've had reports out of Andersen Air Force Base on the northern periphery of this island. Winds upwards of about 140 kilometers per hour reported at this time. That is enough to cause some damage, and the storm system still approaching, and it does look like through the course of the next several hours since I've made this update, we're going to be seeing these max winds. And at least at the Guam National Weather Service, the warnings found on their website here are stating the typhoon warnings are in place. We could still see winds upwards of 240 kilometers per hour. Furthermore, there is the continued threat of flash flooding and, of course, storm surge in some of these low-lying coastal areas. Latest track actually from the Guam National Weather Service. One thing I do want to note, and this has always been a kind of a gripe of mine, especially including Guam, is the fact that JTWC makes these forecasts. That's fine and all, but the Guam National Weather Service totally reflects it. Thing with JTWC is they only update every 6 hours. Look at the eye on our storm system. It was moving in between Guam and Rota, but the latest forecast was made some 5 hours ago. Had the storm pulling up well north of Rota. This is a massive difference. And this was the latest update. The update every 6 hours. The Japan Meteorological Agency, Japan, a separate country from Guam. Guam, actually part of the United States of America, which is under JTWC, has a better forecast here in a more recent update put out at 06 UTC. So that is something that absolutely astonishes me at this point, that they are not putting out hourly updates for the island of Guam at this time. Not from the National Weather Service. Of course, JTWC is not as well. They're putting out satellite positions, but the track is still old, and I think it's a little bit misleading for some of the people out here. So, yeah, that's just something that we're going to continue to watch. Regardless, eye walls pushing overhead right now. Everybody out here is under typhoon warnings. That's the big thing. If you're under typhoon warning, you have to stay inside anyways. Regardless, we're still going to be seeing these conditions as they persist through the rest of the afternoon into the evening hours and through the overnight hours out here on Rota and Guam. Actually, winds at sometimes, as I mentioned, 240 could be seen sustained well over 150 kilometers per hour. As we go ahead through Friday night into Saturday morning, they will be starting to taper off, though, as our storm pulls off there towards the east. We do have drier inflow wrapping it around it, so hopefully by Saturday afternoon, the showers will have tapered off. We're just going to see some breezy conditions going into Sunday, and that's what these areas indicated. The yellow lines are kind of showing you with some passing showers due to the inflow, but for the most part, I do expect the storm system to be over with in the Mariana Islands, unfortunately, as it tracks farther off here towards the west. Storm system could intensify more and possibly reach the equivalent of a super typhoon status out here towards the west. Do want to note, since I've been making this update, it does look like JTWC, given the benefit of the doubt, they have put out a new warning about an hour earlier than what they typically do at 09 UTC, so about 08 UTC. They're putting this out, having the storm system in the correct position and track. It was very far off. Earlier, as I mentioned, it was off here towards the north. So, yeah, it does look like they're changing it. But, as I mentioned, regardless, already seeing the eye wall here. So, a little bit late, but the good thing is it has been fixed. We continue to look up through the extended range. Also, good news is that don't expect much change in the forecast outside of this continuing to intensify. It will swing off towards the north, get wrapped up with the rainy season front, and by mid-next week, really, this storm's going to take a 180, jettison, eject button off there towards the northeast into the northern Pacific, and definitely going to get wrapped up. Probably could become a pretty strong storm off there in the Aleutian Low, gets wrapped up with that. But as far as any impacts, any major land areas, unless you are in Chichijima on the Ogasawara Islands, I think you really don't have to worry about this one at this time. Alright guys, that is all for right now. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please post them down there in the comment box below. Sorry about my little rant there, but I think that it's a very important matter that actually should be brought up, because lives depend on accurate and up-to-date information. I know we have the radar here. People probably are watching that, but not everybody knows how to read these at the very least. Anyhow, that is all for right now. Thanks again, and as always, stay safe out there.